So the first thing we got to do is get the turbo mounted under the hood. To make this easier, I'm going to make a jig to bolt to the turbo where the turbo oil feed does. Here, we got two M8 125 holes. And I'm just going to take a piece of flat stock that I got from Tractor Supply, cut it down. Just going to drill a couple holes in it, weld a big nut to it. That way I can hang it from my engine hoist, because holding a turbo up while trying to get it in position and find the best spot under the hood is not going to be the easiest thing to do, just because of the weight. I want to use a 5/16 drill bit. Should get us pretty close to our 8mm size. M8 bolt fits perfectly. Take and chamfer these holes.
Back side up.
Now we have two nice clean drilled holes. It's best to get this coating shaved off, ground off as well, because I'm going to weld a nut right here to put a big bolt into it and hold the turbo off the engine hoist. And you want to clean this coating off because you want it to weld nice. So I got this little piece mocked up, and the biggest nut that I can fit on here, I want to run the biggest bolt. It's for an M10, and it fits just perfectly in between the two M8s. So once I'm done with this piece will bolt into the turbo, and then I can just hang it off the engine hoist. Make it a lot easier. I'm using about 70 amps. Just gonna tack this nut in place, then use a little bit of filler, make sure I got a nice strong weld since it's gonna be holding the turbo. easy. Should get the job done. Now we can take our piece, get bolted to the turbo. Snug them up. Now we can go get nice M10 1.5 bolt, nice and long. Should try that one. Thread it right into the turbo. Now I got a nice sturdy way to hold it without killing my arms. Probably gonna try to land somewhere in this area with it. Customer doesn't care if I have to trim this stuff up a little bit. I'd probably like to get it to where I just have to trim a small section out just to fit the compressor cover, because I'd like to have the inlet of the turbo relatively in a good spot here, so I can just hole saw out a nice 5-inch hole, have a turbo guard on it, and then we'll get a nice view of it right through the grill. This car is going to be a little tricky. These cars don't have a whole lot of front end room. I'm going to swap out these Flotex for a set of shorty truck manifolds with V-bands on the ends of them, so they come out down at the bottom, kind of free up at least 7-8 inches there. So I'm going to try to fit a 4-inch intercooler in the grill, and then probably have it modular to where the radiator bolts to the back of the intercooler. That way everything can just be bolted in and unbolted from the car. It's one unit. We're not sure if we're going to keep this truck spacing on the crank pulley, again, just for space. There's really not a whole lot of front end room in this car. Let's see. Basically, from the front of that balancer back about 8 inches. So, you know, really like to have enough room for a 4-inch intercooler, radiator. Really like to have enough room for a 4-inch intercooler, decent 2 or 3 row radiator, probably cross flow, and a good brushless fan on the back without getting into the accessories. So just about all making it fit. I don't think it's going to be a problem once we get the right manifolds. They should be here tomorrow. And then, you know, just get the turbo in here. Can say one of the best upgrades I've ever made to this jack. Went to Harbor Freight, got one of these air over hydraulic rams. Just takes forever to pump it up. Just hook an airline up and pull a trigger and it goes a lot easier, especially for pulling motors. Turbo's light work, but pulling motors and stuff, infinitely easier. put a big washer behind it. Risk of slipping through the chain a lot less. And then our nut. Nice and snug. Got a great way to hold it firm. Now we got a great way to hold the turbo. Perfect way to suspend a nice chunk of change over the ground. Well, I missed a little bit of filming. Started working on mounting the turbo. Once I got it placed, just kind of started rolling with it. What I wound up doing is I took the crane, got the turbo pretty much positioned, marked out on the front subframe. I wanted to mount the turbo straight to the car, basically. Being that this car's motor plated and mid plated, there's really not going to be a whole lot of flex in between the motor and the turbo kit. Once it's mounted, it's pretty much going to live where it's at. So I can mount the turbo itself straight to the front subframe, build the turbo kit, and not have to worry about, the motor moving separate from the turbo. Also, it's just going to make things a lot easier, more serviceable. Having the turbo mounted to the chassis and allowing that to bear the weight of the turbo, basically, it's going to be less prone to cracking, any of the turbo kit stuff itself. Basically, so what I used is a set of these tabs, basically. These come from TRZ Motorsports. I picked these up for Russell's Monte Carlo. Bought a anti-roll bar kit for his car, and it comes with the long tabs, and I ordered a set of 4 short tabs just in case the long tabs were too much. Mounting the roll bars on those cars can be a little bit tricky sometimes, so I wanted to make sure it had the right angle. So I just took one of those, welded it to this bar, just tacked one for now, welded a stainless nut straight to the collector. On the other side, I took another anti-roll bar tab, ground it flat, welded that on, same deal, 3/4 inch pipe, welded to the front subframe. So basically, all of the weight of the turbo is going to be directly on the chassis. Outside of that, I'm pretty much at a standstill until I get the headers coming in from Speed Engineering. I've used them a bunch of times. I've had really good luck with them. I know they're a cheaper brand. He had gotten, like we saw before, these Flotex. Just not going to work space-wise. The Speed Engineering headers that I normally grab are for a 99 to 06 cat-eye style Chevy pickup. They're the short tube headers that replace the factory manifolds. I've used them probably 7 or 8 different projects now. I've had quite a few sets out there for a couple years, a lot of usage. Never had a set crack. I always take and cut the V-bands off that come with them because they're not a male-female style V-band. They're just flat. They come with really cheap flanges and really cheap V-band clamps. I usually wind up grabbing a set of quality V-bands that are male-female quick release. That way, once you're taking everything apart, and being that they're male and female. When everything's together, they seal up and lock together real well. Just keeps it a lot simpler, a lot less prone to leak. Other than that, once I get these materials in, we're going to start building out this turbo kit. I want to really get this stuff wrapped up on the turbo kit side, because in order to fit an intercooler, radiator, accessories, and everything else, it's really going to dictate based off of where the turbo piping is. I do still need to pick up wastegates. I'm going to use Motion Raceworks collectors, the nice cast stainless for the wastegate flanges. That way we have really good priority. Just want to make everything super efficient on this car. He really doesn't have a crazy goal with it. He wants to go 8s. Going 8s with this setup's going to be super easy. It's a built LC9 piston rod motor. Done it a billion times with stock, stock bottom end stuff. Easily goes into the 9s. The turbo, everything that's going to be on this car is going to have no problem going 8s. I'm kind of trying to future-proof it as well, just because I know how car guys are. Every one of my customers at some point has a goal in mind. When they build their car, it always changes. You go 890, it's all you ever wanted. Go 890 once, twice, 3 times. You quickly change. You want to go 850s, and then you want to go 7s. So basically everything that I'm building out on this car is going to be ready for the future. I made sure there was enough room. This turbo is from True North Turbos. Nick, they build an amazing turbocharger. There's a lot of companies out there you can go with. I usually try to let the data speak for itself. I've had really, really good luck out of these guys. I've never been let down. Everything that I've ever gotten from them has done exactly what he told me it would do. So this turbo is an 8096 S400 frame. I opted to go with the smaller turbine housing on it. It's a T6 115. I do have a T6 132 here as well that I used to mock up and make sure that that was going to fit as well. Because like I said, if we go down the road at some point and he wants to go to a 88 or 92 millimeter, even with the bigger hot side, go with the T6 132. We got plenty of room to fit all that stuff. Fortunately, it's not really going to go up. I got a turbo probably about as high as we're ever really going to want it. Just plenty of room. Once we get that all buttoned up, intercooler piping going to come right through here into the front end for the intercooler. That's all down the road. Really looking forward to getting this turbo kit tied up. So once these parts come in, we're going to get some good shots of getting that together. Make sure you stay tuned. We're going to get the turbo kit wrapped up on this car here within the next couple days. Really looking forward again to just seeing how this stuff comes out.